Recording? Okay, hi, here we are, everybody. We are at the JLC Distant Learning Art class for all of you at home, and I'm happy to see you. We are going to do our next art project on Passover. We know Passover is coming in just about 3 weeks, and we all need to get ready, and so I thought it would be fun to learn about the story of Passover, which many of you know, but you don't know all the details, and I'm always learning every year. There's more and more to learn, so here we go. As you know, I have this, always have a great collection of books. Here's one book called Out of Egypt, and this book has wonderful illustrations. One of the things I thought would be fun to do is you have a choice. You can do a painting on a canvas if you have a canvas and paints at home, or if you have just, regular old paper and pen, that works too. Just any old paper and pen, or pencils, or markers. If you have colored pencils, okay, I have a nice set of beautiful colored pencils that I would share with you if we were together, but whatever you have at home, paper, pen, paint, pencils, will all work for this project. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just talk a little bit about the story. I'm going to do a painting of the splitting of the sea because it's one of my favorite parts, especially when they all cross the sea and the ladies all get out their tambourines, which you can see my beautiful tambourines that I decorated over there for being victorious over the Mitzrayim. So one of the fun things, I don't know if it's fun in light of the Wuhan coronavirus, but this, as you know, these kind of plagues are all from Hashem, and the Jews were saved, so we don't have to worry. We're all going to be okay. Everything's going to be just fine. So I want to talk to you about some of the plagues. The first one, as you know, blood. So you can do your drawing or your painting in cartoon style with little blurbs of what they're saying, or you can just paint the story of the bloody Nile River. Everything turned into blood, even the bathtub. The next plague was the plague of frogs. The frogs are kind of fun to draw, and you could draw lots of them, and they were everywhere. And then the next plague is the plague of lice. Now, lice I don't really find fun. I think they're kind of disgusting, and that's, I think, why Hashem sent the plague of lice, because everyone was itching and everyone was upset, but even still then, Paro did not let Moses take the Jews out of Israel. So what does Hashem do? He sends the plague of the wild animals. Now, that doesn't scare anybody. I don't know what will. So one of the things you could do is you can draw pictures of wild animals, all of them or some of them. The other thing that you can do is in the next one. It's a little gory, but the livestock disease. Okay, so all the cows died, and the poor shepselas, and all the things that belonged only to the Mitzrayim. Okay, none of the animals of the Jewish people died. And then after that, what's the next plague? Does anyone remember? Can you tell me what the next plague is after that? Right, boils. Boils are kind of disgusting. Oops, nope, here it is, boils. I don't know if this is reading backwards for you, but boils are kind of disgusting. You can see that they were all over their body, and everyone was in pain, and it was very uncomfortable. So even then, Paro did not let the Jews go. So what does Hashem send? Another plague. And this plague is hail. But this hail was not ordinary hail. This hail was filled with fire and ice, which doesn't really occur in nature. So we know it was a miracle from Hashem that he sent this plague. And it was crashing down and burning and freezing at the same time. The next plague after that is the plague of locusts. Now, these plagues of locusts actually still exist. These little creatures are still exist, and they still have them happening in the deserts, and they come and they eat everything up, and then there's nothing left for anyone, no agriculture for anyone to eat. But they were, the Egyptians weren't, not just the plants and all the food was attacked. The people were attacked by these locusts. They were everywhere, and people were very, very unhappy about that. But still, Paro said no. Hashem hardened his heart, and he said no. So Hashem tried another plague, and that's the plague of darkness. Now, I don't know about you. I'm a little scared of the dark. I don't like it when I can't see things. So I'm sure it was a very scary time for the Mitzrayim and in Mitzrayim to find, and they couldn't find their stuff. Like, where's my iPod? I don't have it. Where's my phone? Can't find it. Where's the refrigerator? I can't find my food. They couldn't find anything. So now, if you're gonna do artwork on the darkness, don't just paint a black canvas. Although you could, if that's your thing. If you think that that's what makes you feel inspired to make art about that plague. I'm not going to try and direct what you as an artist feels, but I would encourage you to show how that the light always shone and will continue to shine on the Jewish people, no matter what. And then Paro still said no. So Hashem said, okay, we're going to have to do this one final plague that will surely turn Paro's heart and soften it to let the Jewish people go. And what plague was that? Anybody here, the firstborn son? Okay, guess what? Paro was a firstborn. Now, only the Egyptians' firstborns passed away, not the Jewish people. So again, these plagues did not hurt the Jewish people. Now, what we can do, I'm going to start painting my painting of the sea, the splitting of the sea. And the way I'm going to start it, let me move my camera over a little bit so you can see it better. The way I'm going to do it, let's see, can you see this? Okay, so I'm going to start my painting by making, this is where the sea split, and then the walls of the water, I'm using my ultramarine blue, parted so the Jewish people could go through. Okay, so I'm going to start just by that, and then I'm going to lay in some other colors to show what, one of the fascinating things about the splitting of the sea is that the ground that the Jews walked through was dry. Nobody got wet. So I'm going to take a little bit of that color. I'm going to mix a little. Now see, I'm just mixing my colors. Can you see that? I don't like to use black in my paintings. I prefer to use all color because black doesn't really exist in nature. So here's going to be the sand, the dry path that the Jews walk through. Now I'm just doing this very quickly, and I'm sure if I was not doing this tutorial online, I would paint it a lot slower. But it's still fun to show you this. And we're going to have to put our people in there after, but I'm going to just put some more of the wall of water. Like this. Now, if you're doing it in pencil or marker, you would be drawing without paint. Okay, I like to paint, so, and remember some of you asked me, could we do a canvas? Eloise and Maya wanted to do a canvas, so I thought if you have a canvas at home, you can do your painting now. And if you don't, like I said, you can use any paper, pencil, pen, markers, anything that you have available. And if you wanted to, you could also draw it in like, cartoon style and do more than one frame. Or you could just have fun, since you have a lot of time on your hands in your home with your homeschooling. I know you're busy with that, but you surely will have time to draw and paint and be creative, because you know what? It's very relaxing and it keeps your mind on other things, and it just is very, very fun to do, to allow your creative mind to express itself. Okay, so now what else I'm going to do? I'm going to add some other colors here. Let's see. Oh, I have to go get some more paint. Oh no, do I have white here? I do. So I'm going to mix some white in with my blue, my ultramarine blue, to do the tops of the waves. And I'm just using my brush and the strokes that the brush naturally does, right? I'm just putting the paint on with natural brush strokes. And it's okay if you want to do it, a little heavy. I kind of like to have some texture when I'm painting, using the texture of the paint on the brushes. Now I'm going to add some more of my dark blue in here, my ultramarine blue. I'm going to mix some other little color in here, so I'll see what I get. All right, what happened to my blue? Here it is. I have to put some more in there. Okay. Now you have to, if you are painting, remember that you need to clean your brushes when you're done so you don't ruin them. So I always have a bucket of water with my, can be anything, just any old jar, any old empty jar will do. Fill it with water, and you need a schmata. Any old schmata will do. Make sure that you put down some paper on your work area so that you don't make a mess, and it's easily cleaned up when you're done. Okay. Let's see. Am I going to like this color? Yeah, because I want to make it at the bottom. I'm going to make it a little darker in here, because that's where the wall of water, right? There's a big wall of water to separate, because this is the sea is very big, right? And you want to, when you're doing your painting, you want to be mindful of the white areas of the canvas, so that you, unless you really want to have, if it's important to you to have the white of the canvas showing, I prefer not to. I prefer to cover every area with my paint. And I particularly love this color, ultramarine blue. It's one of my favorites to paint with. And I'm just using my brush strokes to show how powerful the waves are. To me, in my art, in my mind, showing the power of the waves is by using like these brush strokes that have a lot of movement in them. Because when you put the paint down with your brush, it really matters how you put the paint down, what the strokes look like, because that's going to become part of your painting as well. I noticed that, some people, they just, smush it around. No, you don't want to smush it around. You want every brush stroke to have a meaning. Okay, so if the waves are going up, I'm painting them in that direction, right? I'm not going to paint it this way because the water's not going that way. I'm painting it in the direction that in my artistic mind that I see the water going. Okay, so I'm going to keep adding my blue for the sea, and then I'll go back up in there and I'll work on that too. And to me, in this painting, I'm not going to show the sky because I want to show how it feels to be inside this wall of water. Okay, I did not practice this before. I'm just doing this live in front of you, and got some other little colors in there. That's okay. I always like when little accidents happen. Anytime you're painting or you're drawing, things happen that are a little bit out of your control because it is art. So make those accidents work for you. Some people get frustrated and say, oh, I don't want to do that. Well, make it work because it can. Okay, there's no reason to get frustrated and scrap the whole thing because what you didn't intend to happen, happened. I always like to work with those. See, I'm still using my brush strokes to make the shapes of the water going out and being powerful waves, right? And I'm going to go back to my white and add some more up here because those waters were just churning. And the Jews, the Jewish people, were not afraid because they saw the miracle that Hashem made for them by splitting the sea, and they knew that they would be okay. And does anyone remember what happened after the Jews went through the sea? Do you remember? The Egyptians ran after them. And that's another fun thing you could paint is, well, I don't know if it's fun, but you could put in that aspect of the Mitzrayim as they chased the Jews. Well, when the Jews got to the end, all the waters came back down on the Mitzrayim when they were inside the sea. And they unfortunately, or fortunately, because they could no longer chase the Jewish people, they drowned. But you know what? Hashem makes consequences when people try and hurt the Jewish people. So, now what's going to be over there? I haven't decided yet. But I'm going to leave it open for now because I want to keep the... I'm just making a little fun. One thing about art, it's not a photograph, okay? We're not trying to do a photograph. We're trying to... It's, interpretive. It's what you put on the canvas and how you feel about the subject and the emotion behind what you're doing. Can you see me? Here I am. So I'm just adding that churning waters. I'm going to add some up here too. And as it gets closer to the top, I'm making it lighter because in my painting, that's what it does. I'm going to also bring this water. This is the churning water at the top. And I want to just, add some almost straight white to kind of contrast. You see, when you're making a painting like this, what's important, any painting, because in art, contrast equals interest. So it's more interesting to see the contrast between the dark and the light than if it was all the same color. Then you wouldn't be able to differentiate. You would say, what's going on in that painting? So now you can see in my painting that I'm making this the top of the water. Here's more churning waves. Okay, but I see that I still need to work a little bit more on the bottom part, but I'm not done yet. So I want to start putting in the people. Now, the people can't be that big because if the waves were this big, the people are this big. So in proportion, maybe you would see some, the back of someone's head here as they ran through, but really the people are going to be quite small. So, and I'm going to do it in such a way, well, actually I want to work a little bit more, I'll just lay them in, but I do want to work a little bit more on the bottom of the sea where they would be walking, okay? And we can make little footprints, and you could see the Jewish people going through this wall of water that has split for them. I'm going to put some more white in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a small brush, see something small like this. Where is my camera? Here. See something small like this? Can you see it? And I'm going to use that. What I'm going to do, since this is already dry because it's acrylic. Did I mention that I'm using acrylic paints? Oh, sorry if I didn't. But I like acrylics because they dry fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make little dots of white, and that's going to indicate where my people are. And as you get closer, they're going to be a little bit bigger. You're going to see more detail, like here. So the closer something is to you, the bigger it's going to be, and the further away is the smaller it's going to be. So I'm just putting this in so I have something to paint over with different colors, but maybe I'm going to leave it, with some of the white, I don't know. And now also, I'm not going to bunch it all together. I'm going to leave some space. And I haven't decided what's back there yet, but that's freedom. That's the end of the road. So I might just continue to make it go very, very narrow. I haven't decided yet. So here's just what the beginning of my people are going to look like that are going through. Now also, because I'm doing this kind of quickly and I just want to give you a demonstration, I'm not too particular about what these little white shapes are because I'm going to go into more detail later. Okay, so this is my people running through the wall of water. The miracle that Hashem made of splitting of the sea. The Jews had a bunah, and they trusted in Hashem. Okay, so I have to let that dry. So now while that's drying, I'm going to decide what goes back there. So I think what's going to go back there is I'm going to continue with, let me make sure there's no more blue on my brush, because it has to be, oh, there's blue there. Let me get a different brush. I have lots of brushes, you guys, as you can imagine. Okay, here we go. I have another brush, and I'm going to just make a little sand color that's much lighter than this. This is going to get darker, and this is going to be the lightest, because the further away you are, although I just drag some of the blue, but that's going to be my path, okay? So now I'm going to go back in with my blue, and I'm going to very carefully paint in my blue and make sure that I leave my little path, because it was a long way across that sea. I had to go a long way. It wasn't just like, crossing the street. It was far. Okay, so here we go with some more blue. Now you can do your interpretation however you like. I'm just giving you a demo of how I like to do it. And like I said, I want to get rid of I don't want to see any of the canvas. Okay, how does that look? Looks a long way, right? They traveled a long way to get across. And now I'm going to let that dry so I can work on other areas of the painting. So I want to make this wall down here a little more defined. Can you imagine what it would be like if you went to, say, Santa Monica and you wanted to go into the ocean and suddenly it split and you could walk all the way to Hawaii? That would definitely be cool. So the Jews were able to walk away from Egypt and they were saved. And like I said, when they got to the other side, they rejoiced. And the women had emunah, and they knew that they were going to be redeemed, so they brought their tambourines with them. And when they got to the other side, they were singing and dancing and rejoicing. I actually have a beautiful painting on silk that I did. I'll have to bring it to class and show it to you next time I see you. I don't have a good picture. It's like really long. It's like 6 feet long, but it's quite fun. Make sure I have all my. Okay, so I like working with a bigger brush when it comes to the ocean, the sea. A little interruption from the rest of the family that's home, also working from home. I want to be sure that I'm going to step back a little bit. Oh, I kind of like it. It's pretty. It's hard to see when you're close up. And I'm going to bring some of my dark blue in here also. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to add that was using ultramarine blue, but I want to add another color called Prussian blue. I don't know if you have this at home, but if you don't, you don't. It's a very deep blue color. It's not as chromatic and vibrant as the ultramarine blue. I'm going to take my Prussian blue. Let's see how this is going to look here. Oh, yeah. It's very deep, so it makes the water. I'm not going to just cover the whole thing that I just painted. I still want to use what I established here. But this Prussian blue is lots of fun because it's a super deep, deep blue color. And I can also mix a little bit of the Prussian blue with my ultramarine. Whoa, almost dropped the whole paint. Don't do that. So I'm going to mix my ultramarine blue with some of my Prussian blue. I'm going to get it up in here too because it goes all the way through. Okay. Now, I'm sure all of you can do a lovely painting or drawing about the splitting of the sea, or you can pick any of the plagues. This is what I picked to do my painting on, but you're going to be able to pick whichever one you want. Like if you want to do the If you want to paint the hail, or the locusts, or the frogs, or the Hoshek, or the darkness, you can. Or you're going to do the blood. Or another thing that you could do is Yerushalayim. You could paint a painting of Jerusalem, because you know what? Mashiach is coming. And maybe not next year, maybe even this year, we're going to be in Yerushalayim for Pesach. Look, we're all going to be at home for Pesach. And maybe this is just the way that Hashem is preparing us to have Pesach in Yerushalayim. I'm kind of really liking this now, okay? I'm going to bring a little of the darkness in here. And you know what, you see I'm doing a little dry brush now. I'm adding a little different stroke, because in painting, the brush strokes are just as important as the color. And maybe I'm going to add a little swirling action, because it was very, very exciting that this big whole wall of water just, you know, appeared. So now, okay, so I'm not going to work on my water anymore. Now I'm going to go back to, let's see if this is dry. Not quite. I'm going to get my small brush out again, my little brush. And so I'm going to start with my people. Now, we don't really know what the Jewish people were wearing when they left Egypt, but I imagine they were wearing the clothes that they wore when they left. You know, they just, in a hurry, just kind of said, okay, Moshe said, okay, we're leaving now. And so they just jumped out of bed and left. So maybe they're in their pajamas. So if you want to add that, you know, and you want to add the Jews running in their pajamas, they can be whatever kind of pajamas you want, because it's your artwork. Or you can try and make it look like the traditional, what everyone imagines it looks like. I haven't decided what I'm going to do, but right now I'm mixing a color. So this is blue, okay, right? And this is kind of an orangey, red, brown. So these are complementary colors. So if you want to pick a color that's going to look, you can either want it to not have contrast, or have contrast, or pop out. I kind of like using a little contrasty, so that it's more, you know, it's more visible and it's more vibrant. So I'm going to go into yellow. Yellow and blue make what color? Green, right? So I don't really want green in my painting. I have to be careful not to mix the blue and the yellow. So right now I'm mixing a little bit of, I'll show it to you. Can you see? Over here. There we go. I'm mixing over here a little bit of yellow and white to make kind of a, you know, a light yellow. I'm careful not to get any of my blue in there, because I definitely don't want it to turn green. Okay, so here. So now I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to maybe make these figures a little more specific. But because, you know, they're so little and so far away, you don't need to make, you're not going to see what their eyes and their, you know, you'll see some, but they're just, for me, in my painting, I'm not going to make it very specific. You're not seeing individual, you know, so, because it's very small. This is a small canvas. Maybe if I had a bigger canvas, I was doing on something bigger, I could see more detail. Right now, I'm not really interested in a lot of detail. I'm just interested in making it illustrative, to illustrate that these are the Yidden crossing the Yam Suf. Okay, so I'm going to just go in and put a little of this yellow mixture that I put in on top of the white. And then at some point I am going to have to go in and make it a little more detailed, maybe with some shadows or whatever. And I'm also going to want to make that a little more distinctive here. Hopefully the blue is dry. It's probably not. Okay, anyway, that looks a little bit better to me. Now while I'm waiting for all this to dry, and I don't want to make this an hour-long video. Let's see, how long is it now? It's 35 minutes. Okay. Well, maybe that we should end that for today. I think that you get the idea. You're going to continue painting this, you know, and adding your people. I'll just do a little bit of it now so I can show you just one little step of it. I'm going to mix a color that's in contrast to that, and just kind of, I need a smaller brush. You know what, this is probably a better brush to use. Let me see, where's the camera? Can you see that brush? It's got a long, instead of a square, it's more of a, what is this brush called? It's called a, I don't know. It's called a round brush. I'm going to take my round brush, and I'm going to mix some of this little color in here. And hopefully I'm going to be able to get some like little it's going to take a little while to build up that these are people. I'll add a little of this in here. But can you see? I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? It's just a little indication that these are people. It's really kind of hard to do because it's still wet, but I'm just making it like just the idea, you know, it doesn't have to be so detailed. I'm just kind of sketching in little figures here and there. You know what, the Jews were not running. The Jews were, they hurried through, but they knew that Hashem was saving them. It was a big miracle. So see how I'm just making a little, kind of like a scribbly that's in the shape of a person. Adding, but that's the way I like to paint. I like to just make indication of something, unless I'm doing very, you know, a close-up of something, like if I do a self-portrait or if I'm painting a flower. But these people are far away. And we can, otherwise, if we made the people big, then the waves would look really, really small. And the whole idea from my concept and from what the situation was like for the Jews going through the Yam Suf is that the walls were tremendous. And they, okay, so you see what I'm doing here? I'm just making a little indication of my people. Okay, so this is my painting of Krias Yam Suf. I'm not quite done. If you want to keep watching, you can. I'm going to add some more detail into the under the ocean, the sand part. I'm going to take some alizarin crimson, which is kind of like a red color, and I'm going to mix it a little bit with my yellow and some white. Actually, Actually, I don't like the white in there. It makes it too pink. So I'm going to go back to just, forget the white. I'm just going to go back to the yellow. Where's my yellow? Cadmium red light, cadmium medium. Nope, I just have an orange here. I didn't bring all my paints over. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so here's another color. It's called cadmium yellow medium. It's also a very good color for painting. I love it. I'm going to put it in my palette and mix it in with my alizarin crimson. Now if you don't have these colors, you can pick whatever colors you want. That's okay. Let's see. Now if you don't have a palette like this at home, you could just use a paper plate. Okay? Now, see, I'm just going to start putting in a little bit of just around the people. And when you're doing this part, you can even use this color to make your shapes around your people even stand out even more. Right? I'm kind of nudging in my brush to make the shapes. I like this color. Now, I don't want to get rid of completely of what's underneath here, but I do want to add this sort of warm, sandy, yellowy color, which is what I imagine. Although if it was wet, it would probably be darker. But I like the contrast, so I want to make it more contrasty. And also I want to make it bright because it's hopeful, you know. You just use dark colors and it's not as hopeful, but I really like this color. I'm happy with it. So I'm going to mix a little bit more because I need more, I see. So it's just cadmium yellow and alizarin crimson if you have that. If not, just plain yellow and a red. Won't give you this exact same color, but we'll see if you like the results. I'm going to bring some of that up in here. Like I said, I'm not going to get rid of all what's underneath because I kind of like it. I put it there for a reason. But if I didn't like it, I could just paint all over because that's the beauty of using acrylics. Just let it dry and paint right over it. I picked up a little of the blue in there. Oops. That's a lot of paint. See, my figures are really, they're just an indication of people. I don't have any intention of making them look very detailed because that's, if I made them very detailed, then you would say, wow, those people are so big and the water is not that high, and that wouldn't be what I had in mind. This is more what I had in mind, and I'm just going to bring in, I don't know, can you see that? I'm going to put it up here a little bit so you can see the bottom of the painting. And if you're still watching, you'll get to see me finish. And you know what? As the people get further away, it's not quite as clear. So I'm just going to do a little bit over them. Anyway, now I'm going to step back because that's, whoa, actually I kind of really like that. It's getting kind of cool. I said, it's really just an indication. I'm not interested in, being able to tell, how big their nose is or what the color their eyes are, exactly what they're wearing. I just want it to look like people. And to me, it looks like people. Oh, wow, kind of liking it. I'm going to keep painting here, and I'm just going to keep this video going. If you've tuned out by now, it's okay. And you're working on your own project, or you can keep listening, keep watching. Wow, kind of fun. I love painting. It's my favorite thing to do in terms of art. Of all the art I like to do, I like best painting. How about you? You like painting, drawing, using pastels? You could use that. If you have pastels at home, you could do this in pastels also. So now here what I'm doing is I'm just blending a little bit of my yellow, cadmium yellow and alizarin crimson into the wall of water, because you know what? They touch each other. That's one thing about, art is that, and in life, things touch each other. So it's going to have some little bit of, connection here that you will see in the paint. And that also just kind of helps define what you're painting. And I don't know if you can hear all that background noise. There's quite a lot of noise going on outside and in my house. So hopefully it's not distracting you. Now I'm going to just take, now that I've laid in that color, now I'm just going to take some of my alizarin crimson. And I'm just going to make it a little bit, add a little bit in here so that now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to work on my people a little bit more. But right now I'm just letting in some color. And now I touched a little bit of the blue, so now it's getting in my painting where the yellow is, but that's okay, I don't mind, because it's going to make it more interesting. Anyway, it's really whatever goes, I enjoy the process of painting. It's very relaxing. Let's see, so let me step back. Oh yeah, it's coming along. I kind of like it. What do you think, everybody? I think it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. All right, JLC. I'll see you later. Have a happy Passover, and I'll see you next week. Bye.